The rain fell hard on the streets of Neo-Seoul. It was the kind of rain that made people walk fast and keep their heads down. The year was 2147, and the city had changed much since the aliens came. 10 years ago, humans made first contact with the Valari. 5 years ago, their homeworld died. Now they lived among humans. Most people pretended they did not exist. Kong Tae walked through the lower district with heavy steps. He was tired. His bones ached. 12 hours of loading cargo ships did that to a man. He was 34 years old, but tonight he felt like 60. The rain soaked through his old jacket, and he pulled it tighter around his body. It did not help much. The lower district was not a nice place. The buildings were old and dirty. The lights flickered. The streets smelled like garbage and engine oil. But rent was cheap here, and Tae did not need much. He lived alone. He had lived alone for 3 years now, ever since his wife left him for a man with a better job and a nicer apartment. He did not blame her. He was not an easy man to love. As he walked, he passed by the alleys where the Valari lived. They huddled in doorways and under broken roofs. Their skin was pale blue, and their eyes were large and silver. They looked like something from an old story about fairies or spirits. But there was nothing magical about their lives. They were refugees. They had nothing. Most humans walked past them like they were invisible. Tae did not hate the Valari. He did not love them either. He simply did not think about them much. He had his own problems. Everyone had their own problems. That was how life worked. He turned a corner and walked down a narrow street. The rain was getting worse. He reached into his jacket pocket to check his wallet. He always kept it in the inside pocket, close to his chest. But when his fingers searched for it, they found nothing. The pocket was empty. Tae stopped walking. He felt his heart beat faster. That wallet had everything. His identification card. His pilot license. His credits. 300 credits that he needed for rent and food. He turned around and looked at the wet ground behind him. Nothing. The wallet was gone. He cursed under his breath. Someone must have taken it. A pickpocket. A thief. In this part of the city, it happened all the time. He felt anger rise in his chest. Then it faded into something worse. Defeat. He was too tired to be angry. He was just tired. He started walking back the way he came, looking at the ground with little hope. The rain made it hard to see. The streetlights were dim. He knew he would not find it. Things that were lost in the lower district stayed lost. Then he heard small footsteps behind him. Fast footsteps. Someone was running toward him. Tae turned around, his hands forming fists. He was ready for trouble, but it was not trouble. It was a child. A small Valari girl stood in the rain, looking up at him. She was tiny, maybe 7 or 8 years old. Her blue skin was pale, almost gray. Her silver eyes were too big for her thin face. She wore clothes that were torn and dirty. She was soaking wet, and she was shaking from the cold. In her small hands, she held his wallet. Tae stared at her. He did not understand. The wallet was right there. She could have taken the credits and run. 300 credits would feed a Valari family for a month, maybe longer. Why was she giving it back? The girl held the wallet up higher, pushing it toward him. Her arms were shaking. Tae realized she was not just cold. She was scared. She was scared of him. He took the wallet slowly. He opened it and checked inside. Everything was there. The identification card, the license, all 300 credits. She had not taken anything. Tae looked at the little girl again. She was still standing there, still shaking. She watched him with those big silver eyes, waiting for something. Maybe she was waiting for him to yell at her. Maybe she was waiting for him to accuse her of trying to steal. That was probably what most humans did. But Tae did not yell. He felt something strange in his chest. It was a feeling he had not felt in a long time. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was shame. He was ashamed that he had expected the worst from this child. He was ashamed that he had been ready to fight her. He knelt down so he was closer to her height. The rain hit his back, but he did not care. "Thank you," he said. His voice was rough. He was not used to saying kind words. The girl nodded. She still looked scared, but something else was in her eyes now. Hope, maybe. Or desperation. Tay could not tell the difference. She opened her mouth to speak. Her voice was small and weak. She spoke in the human language, but her words were broken and slow. She had learned it recently, and not very well. "You are pilot?" she asked. Tay frowned. "How do you know that?" She pointed at his jacket. There was a patch on the shoulder, the symbol of the Cargo Pilot Guild. He had forgotten it was there. "You have ship?" she asked. "You fly ship?" "Yes," Tay said slowly. "I fly cargo ships." "Why?" The girl's eyes filled with tears. But she did not cry. She held the tears back with a strength that surprised him. Children should not have to be that strong. "Please," she whispered. "Please help. My family. They need help. My grandmother. She is dying. We need to go far away. To a place with medicine. Please." He stood up. The rain was cold on his face. He looked down at this tiny alien girl who had just returned his wallet when she had every reason to steal it. She had nothing. Her family was dying. And still, she had done the right thing. He should walk away. He knew he should walk away. This was not his problem. He had enough problems of his own. He did not know this girl. He did not know her family. Getting involved with Valari refugees was dangerous. It could cost him his job. It could cost him his freedom. He opened his mouth to say no, but before he could speak, the girl's eyes rolled back. Her small body went limp. She fell forward, and Tay caught her just before she hit the wet ground. She weighed almost nothing. She was so thin, he could feel her bones through her clothes. She had not eaten in days. Maybe longer. Tay stood in the rain holding the unconscious alien child in his arms. People walked past him without stopping. No one cared. No one ever cared in this part of the city. He looked down at her face. She looked peaceful now, like she was just sleeping. But he knew better. She was starving. She was sick. And somewhere in this city, her family was waiting for her to bring back help. Tay made a decision. It was a stupid decision. It was a dangerous decision. But he made it anyway. He carried the little girl home. Tay's apartment was small and messy. There was one room for sleeping, one room for everything else, and a tiny bathroom. The walls were gray. The furniture was old. But it was warm and dry, and tonight that was enough. He laid the Valari girl on his bed. She was still unconscious. Her breathing was shallow and weak. Up close, he could see how sick she really was. Her blue skin had gray patches. Her lips were cracked and dry. Dark circles surrounded her closed eyes. This child was dying slowly, and no one in the whole city had helped her. Tay went to his small kitchen. He did not have much food. A cargo pilot's pay was not good, but he found some rice, some vegetables, and a little bit of meat. He cooked a simple soup. The smell filled the apartment, and as he stirred the pot, he heard movement from the bedroom. He walked back and found the girl sitting up. She looked around with wild, frightened eyes. When she saw him, she pressed herself against the wall. Her whole body was shaking. "It is okay," Tay said. He held up his hands to show he meant no harm. "You are safe here. I am not going to hurt you." The girl did not move. She watched him like a small animal watches a predator. Tay realized she had probably never been inside a human home before. She did not know what to expect. He walked slowly to the kitchen and came back with a bowl of soup. He set it on the bed, far enough away that she would not feel trapped. "Eat," he said. "You need food." The girl looked at the soup. Tay could see the hunger in her eyes. She wanted to eat, but she was scared it was a trick. She was scared of what he might want in return. "I do not want anything from you," Tay said. "Just eat, please." Something in his voice must have convinced her. She reached for the bowl with trembling hands. She brought it to her lips and drank. She drank fast, like she had not eaten in a week. When the bowl was empty, she looked at him with surprise, like she could not believe he was real. Tay got her more soup. She ate 3 bowls before she finally stopped. Color was returning to her face. The gray patches on her skin were fading. She was still sick, but she was stronger now. "What is your name?" Tay asked. "Lyra," she said. Her voice was still small, but it was steadier now. "I am Tay Kongte." He sat down on a chair across from the bed. "Lyra, why did you return my wallet? You could have kept the money. You needed it more than I did." Lyra looked down at her hands. "My grandmother told me," she said slowly, finding the human words with difficulty. "She told me that stealing is wrong, even when you are hungry, even when you are dying. She said the soul is more important than the body. If I steal, my soul becomes sick, and a sick soul cannot be healed." Tay felt something twist in his chest. This child had been starving. Her family was dying. And still she had returned his wallet because her grandmother taught her about honor. He thought about all the humans he knew who would steal for much less reason. He thought about himself, and the small lies he told every day to make his life easier. "Your grandmother sounds wise," he said.
"Oh."
"She is," Lyra said. Then her face became sad. "She is very sick. That is why I need your help." Tay leaned forward. "Tell me everything." From the beginning, Lyra took a deep breath. Speaking in the human language was hard for her, but she tried her best. She told him about her family. There were 12 of them living in the old tunnels under the city. The tunnels were part of an old train system that had been abandoned long ago. It was cold and dark down there, but it was safe. The humans did not go there. Her family had come to Earth 3 years ago, after their homeworld was destroyed. At first, they lived in a refugee camp, but the camp was bad. There was not enough food. There was sickness. And there were humans who hurt the Valari for fun. So they ran away. They hid. They survived. But now her grandmother, Elder Soli, was dying. She had a disease that was common among older Valari. There was a cure, but it could only be found on Valari colony outposts far from Earth. Without the medicine, her grandmother would die in a few weeks. Maybe less. "We have no ship," Lyra said. "We have no money. We have nothing. I tried to ask humans for help, but they look at me like I am garbage. They push me away. Some of them kick me." She touched her side, and Tay saw a bruise through her torn shirt. "No one will help us." Tay felt anger build inside him. Not at Lyra, at the humans who had treated her this way. At a world that let children starve in tunnels while rich people lived in towers that touched the sky. "Why did you ask me?" he said. "You do not know me. I could be just like the others." Lyra looked at him with her big silver eyes. "When I found your wallet, I watched you. I saw your face. You were tired. You were sad. But you were not mean. Your eyes are not mean." She paused. "My grandmother says you can see a person's soul in their eyes. She says kind people have warm eyes, even when they do not smile. You have warm eyes." Tay did not know what to say. No one had said anything like that to him in years. Lyra slipped off the bed. She stood in front of him. Then she did something that broke his heart. She got down on her knees. She pressed her forehead to the floor. She had learned this was how humans begged. She had learned it from watching desperate people on the streets. "Please," she said. Her voice cracked. "Please help us. Fly us to Outpost, Kara. It is 3 days away. The medicine is there. Save my grandmother." She looked up at him with tears running down her face. "I will give you everything. I will work for you. I will be your servant forever. I will do anything, please. Please." Tay stared at her. His throat was tight. His eyes were burning. This child was offering to sell herself into slavery just to ask for help. She expected that was the only way a human would agree. She expected that kindness always had a price. He stood up. He walked to her. He knelt down and gently lifted her off the floor. "Stand up," he said. "Do not ever kneel to anyone. Not to me. Not to any human." Lyra looked confused. But I have nothing to give you. How can I ask for help if I have nothing?" Tay looked into her eyes. He saw fear. He saw hope. He saw a child who had suffered too much and still believed in goodness. "You gave me something," he said. "You gave me my wallet when you had every reason to keep it. You showed me that honor still exists in this ugly world." He took a breath. "That is worth more than you know." Lyra's tears fell faster. "Does this mean, will you help us?" Tay was silent for a long moment. He thought about his job. He thought about his pilot license. He thought about the laws against transporting unregistered aliens. If he got caught, he would lose everything. He might go to prison, but then he thought about 12 Valari hiding in cold tunnels. He thought about a grandmother who taught her grandchild to be honest, even when starving. He thought about a little girl who walked through the rain to return a stranger's wallet. "Where are your people hiding?" he asked. Lyra's eyes went wide. You will really help." Tay nodded slowly. "Take me to them." "We do not have much time." Lyra threw her arms around him. She was so small that she barely reached his chest. She held on to him like he was the only solid thing in a world that had been nothing but fog and shadows. And in that moment, Kangtae felt something he had not felt in years. He felt like he mattered. He felt like his life had a purpose. He felt human again. The entrance to the tunnels was hidden behind an old factory. Lyra moved a large piece of metal to reveal a hole in the ground. It was dark down there. It's very dark. The smell of damp earth and old machines rose up from below. "Stay close to me," Lyra whispered. "There are many turns. It is easy to get lost." Tay followed her into the darkness. He used the light on his communication device to see. The tunnel was narrow and cold. Water dripped from the ceiling. The walls were covered with rust and old paint. This place had been forgotten by the world above. They walked for a long time. Left turn, right turn, down a ladder, through a broken door. Tay tried to remember the path, but it was too complicated. If Lyra left him here, he would never find his way out. Finally, they reached a larger space. It had been a station once, long ago. The old platforms were still there, and the tracks were covered with dirt and garbage. But in the corner, behind some old machines, there was light. Weak yellow light from small lamps. Lyra called out something in her own language. A soft musical sound that Tay did not understand. A moment later, a voice answered. Then another. Then many voices, all speaking in the Valari tongue. They walked toward the light. And there, huddled together in the cold darkness, Tay saw them. 12 Valari. Men, women, children. They sat on old blankets and pieces of cardboard. Their clothes were torn. Their faces were thin. They looked at Tay with fear in their silver eyes. One of them stood up. It was a tall Valari man with dark marks on his blue skin. He looked older than the others, maybe 40 or 50 by human years. His eyes were hard and angry. "Lyra," he said in broken human language, "what have you done? You brought a human here?" Lyra stepped forward. "Vorik, he wants to help us. He is a pilot. He has a ship. He can take us to Outpost Kara." Vorik laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Help us. No human helps us. They only take. They only hurt." He pointed at Tay with a shaking finger. "You have killed us, child. This human will tell the authorities. They will come for us. They will put us in cages." Tay raised his hands. "I am not going to tell anyone. I came here to help," Vorik spat. "All humans lie. We trusted humans before. They promised us safety. They promised us food. Then they sold us to labor camps. We escaped. We lost 3 of our people in that escape. Good people. Dead because we trusted humans." Tay understood now. These Valari had suffered because of humans. They had been betrayed, hurt, and broken. Of course they did not trust him. Trust was a luxury they could not afford. "I am sorry for what happened to you," Tay said slowly, "but I am not those people. I did not come here to hurt you. I came because a little girl showed me kindness, and I want to return it." He was almost as tall as Tay. "Then why? Why would you risk yourself for us? What do you want?" "Money, we have none. Bodies to sell? We would rather die." "I want nothing," Tay said. He kept his voice calm, even though his heart was beating fast. I saw a child starving in the rain, and she still had enough honor to return my wallet instead of stealing from me. That means something. If there is still goodness in this world, maybe it is worth protecting." Vorik stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned away. Words, just words. Humans are good at words. A soft voice came from behind the group. "Let me see him." Velaray moved aside. In the back, lying on a pile of old blankets, was an elderly Valari woman. Her skin was more gray than blue. Her eyes were cloudy. Her breathing was slow and painful. This was Elder Soli, Lyra's grandmother. Lyra ran to her and knelt beside her. "Grandmother, this is the human I told you about. The one with kind eyes." Elder Soli looked at Tay, even though she was dying. There was strength in her gaze. Wisdom. Like she had seen enough of life to understand things that younger people could not. "Come closer, human," she said. Her voice was weak but clear. Tay walked forward and knelt beside the old woman. Up close, he could see how sick she was. Her skin was covered with dark spots. Her hands trembled without stopping. She had days left, maybe less. "My granddaughter says you have a good soul," Elder Soli said. "Is this true?" Tay thought about the question. "I do not know if my soul is good. I have made many mistakes in my life. I have hurt people. I have been selfish. But I am trying to be better. I think that is all any of us can do." Elder Soli smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. An honest answer? Only a person with a good soul would admit they are not perfect. She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cold. "Why do you want to help us?" Tay looked at Lyra, then back at the old woman. "Because your granddaughter reminded me of something I had forgotten. She reminded me that kindness is not weakness. She reminded me that doing the right thing matters, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard." Elder Soli closed her eyes. A tear ran down her gray cheek. "For 3 years I have told the children that humans are cruel. I told them not to trust your kind. I told them we are alone in this universe." She opened her eyes and looked at him. "Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps there is still light in the darkness." Tay stood up. He looked at the 12 Valari around him. They were still afraid. They still did not trust him. But they were listening. "I have a cargo ship called the Hawan," he said. "It is not big, but it is fast. Outpost Kara is 3 days away. If we leave tomorrow morning, we can get there in time." He paused. "I will not lie to you. This is dangerous. My license does not allow passengers. If we get caught, I will go to prison. You will be sent back to the camps, or worse." "Then why do it?" Vorik asked. His voice was still hard, but the anger was fading. "Because it is right," Tay said simply. "I do not need another reason." He took out his communication device and called his sister. Yuna worked as a medical officer at a hospital in the Upper District. She was smart and kind, and she was the only family Tay had left. "Tay." Her voice was surprised. "It is late. Is everything okay?" "I need your help," Tay said. "I need information about a Valari disease. The one that affects older Valari. Gray skin, dark spots, difficulty breathing." Yuna was quiet for a moment. "That sounds like Valari fading syndrome. It is a genetic condition. The only treatment is a compound called Solari extract. It can only be found on Valari outposts. Can it be cured? If the patient gets the extract in time, yes. But the disease moves fast. Once the symptoms are visible, there is usually only a week or two left." Yuna paused. "Tay, why are you asking about this?" "I will explain later," Tay said. "Thank you, Yuna." He ended the call and looked at the Valari. "The medicine exists. We can save her, but we need to move fast." Elder Soli reached out and touched Lyra's face. "You found a good one, child. You found one of the good ones." Lyra smiled through her tears. Then she looked up at Tay with eyes full of hope. "You are really going to help us?" Tay nodded. "Get your people ready. We leave at dawn." Vorik stepped forward. His face had changed. The anger was gone, replaced by something like respect. "I do not understand you, human. But if you were telling the truth, if you really do this, I will owe you a debt I can never repay. Tay shook his head. I do not want your debt. I do not want anything. Just get everyone ready. And try to trust me, even if it is hard. He turned and walked back toward the tunnel entrance. Behind him, he heard Lyra's voice speaking to the others in her own language. He did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. She was telling them about hope. She was telling them about a human who proved the stories wrong, and somewhere in the cold darkness, an old woman whispered a prayer of thanks to a universe that had finally sent them a friend. The sun was not yet up when Tay arrived at the spaceport. His ship, the HFY, sat in Dock 17 between two larger cargo vessels. It was an old ship, not beautiful but reliable. Tay had flown it for 8 years. He knew every sound it made, every shake and rattle. It was more home to him than his apartment ever was. He walked through the spaceport carefully. He had rented a cargo transport vehicle the night before. The 12 Valari were hidden inside large shipping containers, marked as machine parts. It was uncomfortable for them, but it was the only way to get past security. The first checkpoint was easy. The guard was tired and bored. He scanned Tay's identification, looked at the shipping documents, and waved him through without checking the containers. Tay kept his face calm, even though his hands were sweating. The second checkpoint was harder. A young officer wanted to open the containers for inspection. Tay's heart stopped. He thought of the 12 Valari inside, holding their breath in the darkness. There is nothing interesting in there, Tay said. Just engine parts. Old, dirty engine parts. You will get oil on your uniform. The officer looked at his clean uniform, then at the containers. He frowned. Fine, he said. But next time, have better documentation. Tay nodded and drove through. He did not breathe again until he reached his ship. It took an hour to load everyone onto the HFY. The cargo hold was not meant for passengers. It was cold and hard. But Tay had brought blankets and food. He had spent half his savings on supplies. The other half he kept for emergencies. Elder Soli was the hardest to move. She was too weak to walk. Tay carried her himself, slowly and carefully, up the ramp and into the ship. Lyra walked beside him the whole way, holding her grandmother's hand. Thank you, Elder Soli whispered. Thank you, kind human. Save your strength, Tay said. We have a long journey ahead. He closed the cargo hold door and went to the cockpit. His hands moved over the controls with familiar ease. The engines hummed to life. The HFY lifted off the ground, rose through the clouds, and broke free of Earth's atmosphere. Space was quiet. Space was peaceful. Tay had always loved this moment. When the noise of the world below disappeared and there was nothing but stars. But today he could not enjoy it. Today, he was a criminal. Today, he was smuggling refugees across the galaxy. If anyone found out, his life was over. The first day of the journey passed slowly. Tay stayed in the cockpit most of the time, watching the navigation systems and checking for patrol ships. The Valari stayed in the cargo hold. They were afraid to move around too much, afraid to make noise. But on the second day, things began to change. Lyra came to visit him in the cockpit. She sat in the co-pilot's seat and looked out at the stars with wonder in her eyes. She had never been in space before. She had been born on a ship during the evacuation of her homeworld, but she had been too young to remember. It is beautiful, she said, like tiny lights floating in an ocean of darkness. Tay smiled. That is a nice way to describe it. My grandmother used to tell me stories about the stars, Lyra said. She said our ancestors believed that every star was a soul of someone who died. She said when we die, we become stars too, and we watch over the people we love. Do you believe that? Tay asked. Lyra thought about it. I do not know, but I like the idea. It makes death less scary. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Lyra asked, Tay, why do you live alone? Do you not have a family? Tay was quiet for a moment. I had a wife once, but she left. And my parents died when I was young. I have a sister, Yuna. She is the only family I have left. But we do not see each other much. We are both busy. That sounds lonely, Lyra said. It is, Tay admitted, but I got used to it. Lyra reached over and took his hand. Her small fingers were warm. You are not alone now. You have us. Tay looked at her. This strange, brave, kind little alien girl. He felt something crack open in his chest, something he had kept locked away for a long time. Thank you, Lyra, he said. That night the Valari came out of the cargo hold. They sat together in the small, common area of the ship. They shared food. They told stories. Elder Morith, an old Valari man with wise eyes, told tales of their lost homeworld. He described cities that floated on clouds and forests where the trees sang in the wind. He described a sky with 3 suns that painted everything in gold and orange and pink. Tay listened. He had never thought about what the Valari had lost. To him, they had always just been refugees, strangers, problems. But now, hearing their stories, he understood. They had lost everything. Their home, their history, their whole world. And still, they kept going. Still, they tried to survive. Still, they hoped. He told them stories too. Stories about Earth, about mountains covered in snow, about oceans so big you could not see the other side, about forests full of animals, and cities full of lights. The Valari children listened with wide eyes. They had never seen these things. They had only known tunnels and hiding and fear. Maybe one day, Tay said, when things are better, I will take you to see the mountains. I know a place where you can stand on top of the world and touch the clouds. The children smiled. It was the first time Tay had seen them smile. On the 3rd day, everything went wrong. A patrol ship appeared on the scanner. It was moving toward them fast. Tay's blood went cold. He told the Valari to hide in the cargo hold and stay silent. Then he waited. The patrol ship pulled alongside the Hawan. A voice came over the communication system. Cargo vessel Hawan, this is patrol ship Sigma 7. We are conducting a routine inspection. Prepare to be boarded. Tay's mind raced. If they searched the ship, they would find the Valari. Everything would be over. He opened the communication channel. Sigma 7, this is the Hawan. I am on a tight schedule. Is there any way we can make this quick? A pause. Then, what is your cargo? Machine parts. For the mining colony on Theta 5, another pause. Our scans show unusual heat signatures in your cargo hold. Tay felt sweat run down his back. The Valari. Their body heat was showing up on the scans. That is the engine parts, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Some of them are still warm from manufacturing. The patrol officer did not sound convinced. We are coming aboard for inspection. Tay made a decision. He reached into his bag and pulled out his remaining credits. 150 credits. Everything he had left. Officer, he said slowly. I am just a cargo pilot trying to make a living. I have a delivery deadline. If I miss it, I do not get paid. I do not eat. He paused. Perhaps there is a way to settle this without inspection. Processing fee? Silence. Then, transferred to account Delta, 7,749. Tay transferred the credits. Every last one. He was now broke. Had nothing. The patrol ship pulled away. The voice came one last time. Safe travels, Hawan. Tay sat in his chair, shaking. He had just spent everything he had. But the Valari were safe. That night, Elder Morith came to see him. The old Valari sat down slowly, his joints aching. I heard what you did, he said. You gave all your money to save us. Tay shrugged. It is just money. I can make more. It is not just money, Elder Morith said. It is trust. It is sacrifice. He was quiet for a moment. I owe you an apology, human. For years, I have told the children that your kind is cruel and selfish. I told them never to trust humans. I told them we were alone. His voice cracked. I was wrong. I taught them to hate when I should have taught them to hope. Tay looked at the old man. You were trying to protect them. You did what you thought was right. But it was not right, Elder Morith said. Cruelty is not a species trait. Neither is kindness. These things are choices. Aaron, And you have chosen kindness when you had every reason to choose cruelty. He bowed his head. Thank you, Kong Tae. Thank you for showing us that we are not alone. The next morning, they arrived at Outpost Kara. Tae looked out the cockpit window, expecting to see buildings and life. Instead, he saw ruins, burned buildings, broken ships. Smoke still rising from the ground. The outpost had been destroyed. Raided by pirates or criminals. Everything was gone. The medicine was gone. Tae felt his hope die. Behind him, he heard Lyra's soft voice. No, 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 no. He had brought them all this way. He had risked everything, and it was for nothing. The cargo hold was silent. The Valari sat in a circle around Elder Soli, their faces empty. Hope had left them. The old woman's breathing was weaker now. Her gray skin had turned almost white. She had maybe hours left, not days. Lyra knelt beside her grandmother, holding her hand. She did not cry. She had no tears left. She just held on, as if she could keep death away through the strength of her grip. Tae stood at the edge of the group. Felt like he had failed them. He had promised to save them, and he had led them to a dead end. The outpost was destroyed. The medicine was gone. There was nothing left to do. But Kung Tae had never been good at giving up. He walked back to the cockpit and called his sister. It was the middle of the night on Earth. Yuna answered with sleep in her voice. Tae, what is wrong? Where are you? I need your help, Tae said. He told her everything. The Valari refugees. The dying grandmother. The destroyed outpost. He told her about Lyra and the wallet. He told her about the journey and the bribe and the stories under the stars. When he finished, Yuna was quiet for a long time. You are insane, she finally said. You know that, right? You could go to prison for this, I know. You spent all your money. I know. You were in the middle of space with 12 sick aliens and no plan. I know, Yuna, but I could not just leave them to die. Could not walk away from that little girl. She reminded me that there is still good in the universe. I cannot let that die. Yuna sighed. But when she spoke again, there was something different in her voice. Respect, maybe, or love. There is a research station on Halian 3, she said. It is a human facility. They have been working on synthesizing Solari extract, the compound the Valari need. Tae's heart jumped. They have the medicine. It is experimental, untested on actual Valari patients, but theoretically it should work. Yuna paused. Helion 3 is 6 hours from your current position. I will contact the station and tell them you are coming. I will call in every favor I have. Yuna, thank you. Do not thank me yet, she said. Just fly fast. And Tae? Do not die out there. You are the only brother I have. Tae ended the call and ran back to the cargo hold. The Valari looked up at him with empty eyes. There's another way, he said. A human research station has the medicine. It is 6 hours away. We can still make it. Lyra's eyes went wide. Truly, truly. But we need to move now. Your grandmother does not have much time. The Valari helped him carry Elder Soli to a more comfortable position. They wrapped her in blankets and surrounded her with warm bodies. They held her hands and whispered prayers in their own language. Tae pushed the Huan to its limits. The old ship shook and groaned. Warning lights blinked on the control panel. He ignored them. He pushed harder, faster. For hours passed. 5 hours. Elder Soli's breathing became slower and slower. Her eyes were closed. She looked peaceful, like she was already halfway to the stars. Hold on, Lyra whispered to her. Please hold on. We are almost there. At 5 hours and 47 minutes, Helion 3 appeared on the scanner. Tae contacted the station. Research Station Helion 3. This is cargo vessel Hewan. I have a medical emergency, requesting immediate landing permission. A woman's voice answered, calm, professional. Juan, we have been expecting you. A medical team is standing by. Please proceed to landing bay 4. The Juan landed hard. Tae was too focused on speed to be gentle. The cargo hold door opened, and humans in white medical uniforms rushed in. They moved Elder Soli onto a stretcher and ran toward the medical building. Lyra tried to follow, but a doctor stopped her. Let them work, the doctor said gently. They will do everything they can. The next 3 hours, were the longest of Tay's life. He sat in a waiting room with the Valari. No one spoke. No one moved. They just waited and hoped and prayed. Lyra sat next to Tay. She leaned against his arm, exhausted. Halfway through the wait, she fell asleep. Her small body was warm against his side. Tay did not move. He did not want to wake her. Finally, a doctor came out. She was an older woman with kind eyes and gray hair. "Treatment is working," she said. "Her body's responding well. She will need time to recover, but she is going to live." Lyra woke up at the sound. "Grandmother is okay?" The doctor smiled. "Your grandmother is going to be fine." The Valeri erupted in joy. They hugged each other. They cried. They laughed. They spoke in their own language, fast and happy. Vorik fell to his knees and wept like a child. Tay stayed where he was. He watched them celebrate. He felt something warm spread through his chest. This was why he had done it. This moment, this joy, it's these people, alive and happy and together. Lyra turned to him. Her silver eyes were full of tears, but she was smiling, really smiling, for the first time since he met her. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you, Kongte. You saved us. You saved all of us." Tay smiled back. "You saved me first. Remember 3 weeks later? The Valari had a new home. Yuna had worked miracles. She contacted refugee organizations, pulled strings with government officials, and fought through mountains of paperwork. The 12 Valari were given legal status and a small housing unit in a better district of Neo-Sol. It was not much, but it was clean and warm and safe. Tay visited often. He helped them learn human customs. He taught the children to read. He brought food and medicine and small gifts. He was no longer alone. On the day before he had to return to work, Lyra came to see him. She looked different now. Her blue skin was bright and healthy. Her silver eyes were clear. She had gained weight and strength. She looked like a child should look, happy and alive. She held something in her small hands, stone. It was dark gray with streaks of gold running through it. It seemed to glow with a soft inner light. "This is a piece of my home world," Lyra said. "It is the only thing my grandmother brought when we left. She said it holds the memory of our world. Every Valari who touches it can feel the 3 suns on their skin. They can hear the singing trees. They can smell the cloud flowers." She held the stone out to Tay. "I want you to have it." Tay shook his head. "I cannot take this. It is too precious." "That is why I want you to have it," Lyra said. "You gave us everything. You asked for nothing. This stone is the most valuable thing I own. It is the only way I can thank you." Tay knelt down to her level. He looked at the stone, then at her face. He thought about everything that had happened. The wallet in the rain, the plea in his apartment, the tunnels and the ship and the stars, the fear and the hope and the joy. "Keep your stone," he said gently. "You need it more than I do. It is your connection to your home." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "But I have nothing else to give." Tay put his hand on her shoulder. "You already gave me something. You gave me a reason to be proud of being human. You showed me that kindness is never wasted. It is worth more than any stone."